And then he points out one of the biggest, the main draw in, or I guess one of the elements of a wedding ceremony that we see is the bride in her veil and gown. You know, and all the married ladies here, remember your wedding gown, this big flowing gown everywhere. You know. So he talks about the veil. Goes on to talk about the veil. He says that is the visible sign of that the woman is under the authority of the man. Now, it signifies loving submission of the woman, her trust and confidence in her husband's Christ-like leadership. In other words, to be specific, she has chosen to follow him as a loving companion. See, nobody's forcing this. This is voluntarily entered into. It symbolizes love, not humiliation or oppression. A choice. And if that's not the image we have of marriage, then we shouldn't marry. That is the only form of Christian Catholic marriage. We have all kinds of weird, twisted things today being called marriage. This is it. This is the only way. Again, another personal aside. That whole concept is rejected vehemently by even many Catholic women. I did another article recently on college. And one of the comments one lady made was, I can't put all my trust in my husband, Catholic lady. The feminism that is so deeply seated and rooted in the whole attitude and thoughts of a lot of ladies today. But it doesn't stop there at the wedding. It continues through the entirety of married life. And ladies, the guy has to feel that he has that trust there. That trust exists and goes on there. And beyond each particular bride, he points out that woman, as woman, is an icon of the church. So the veil is a visible reminder of the spousal relationship between the church and Christ. The church submits to Christ. So we should recall that when we see all those veils in Mass, we should recall that that's what that is a symbolism of. Goes on to talk about the bridal gown. It's reminiscent of the heavenly glory we once possessed beyond our everyday garments. And while we can't go back to Eden, it's closed forever. We can't go back there. We are recreated and restored by sanctifying grace, by the grace in Christ. The veil, he points out further, is a conscious, explicit rejection. A conscious, explicit rejection of the sinful attitude of the old Eve, who, inspired by the serpent, wanted to rise up and have headship over her husband. By her rebellion, she inspired him to rebel against God. Watch this. This is the second nugget. Key point here. By her submission, visibly shown by that veil, but also in her everyday life, the Catholic bride, the wives, inspire their husbands to obey God's love. By her submission, she inspires her husband to be obedient to God. Okay, here another aside. How often, when I talk about this topic, do I get the statement, well, I would be submissive to my husband if he would love me like Christ loved the church. Here we have a devout, holy priest telling us how that's going to happen. Inspire him by And it doesn't work with men. It's loving, trusting submission. And we remember we passed that book around a while back, How to Change Your Husband. And that's pretty much what that was all about. This next one, let's talk about we fathers who have daughters. Dads, listen up to this. If you have a daughter or if you ever might one day. The bride does not present herself. She is presented. The woman is presented before God, the congregation, but most particularly to her husband. Just as the first woman was presented to her husband, immaculate and pure, so also all young ladies recreated in the holiness of Christ are presented for their prospective husbands. The dignity of the man, us, the father of the bride, stands in the place of God to present the bride to that prospective husband. And he presents her as if to say, I guarded your garden, O Lord, and let no intruders in. I've kept her and protected her as a father. Now I'm presenting her a chaste virgin before you, and solemnly handing her over to be protected and cared for by this man. Men, let us not be remiss in this, our solemn and sacred duty to our daughters and their future husbands. Second homily, the Eras of Russia.